Hello, everyone. I wanted to give a little video to demo how we can use tools like the USGS National Water Dashboard to analyze historic rainfall events, historic flooding, and also use it to project future flooding and future rainfall events. And this was inspired in light of recent major flooding events that happened in Texas, and this is a little bit of a live demo. I haven't looked into this too much, so I thought it would be helpful to see together how we could use a tool like USGS National Water Dashboard to analyze this. So if you have any questions or any feedback, please throw them in the comments or drop me a message and I'll answer them. So the first thing that loads when we load up this website is a map of the US with the radar rainfall currently that's going on, and also a bunch of dots that represent the water level gauge stations throughout the United States. So, to start to analyze this, let's first go ahead and we'll turn off the stream flows. There's a layers button up here that you can click, and I'm going to turn off the stream flow gauges, and I'm going to go down to my weather conditions. I'm going to click that. I'm not interested in the current rainfall, or current radar. I'm interested in the recent amount of precipitation that happened. And I'll start broad. I'll look at the past 3 days. So I'm going to turn on this layer, and it's going to show me where did it rain in the last 3 days according to the radar. So I'm going to zoom in. We'll get a little bit of an idea of where our major intense areas are. So I have past 3 days. Maybe I'll see, okay, let's see 2 days. Is it consistent? Looks like we're getting a ton of rainfall falling down in the upper Colorado watershed that dumps into Austin. We can also go to past 1 day. So it looks like it's still rainy, but a lot of that storm looks like it moved up north. Most of the news is coming in for the Guadalupe River. There's a town called Kerrville. There it is. And it looks like we can see high intensity here. So we can go to our legend, which is right next to the layers. We can click the legend, and this will actually tell us what these colors mean. So, for example, we see yellow over here. So this is on the order of 4 to 5 inches, and we get up to red now in the 6. And as we get into this purple pink, we're now in 8 to 9 inches. Um, we can zoom out and go take a peek over at Austin area, just northwest. We start seeing this almost whitish color, which is not even a scale. So that seems to imply that this is missing a color here. So this is likely the upper end of their rendering scale. Massive amounts of rainfall. So now that we have a little bit of an idea of the scale and the intensity of this, we can now go look at some of our gauge data. So let's go maybe turn that back on actually, keep our locations. I'm going to go to the USGS stations tab. I'm going to click this, and now I just want to get an idea of if this radar is lining up to what the observation gauges are saying. So I'm going to turn this rainfall on, and now I can see different locations where rainfall is being measured. So looks like we don't have one too close to where this most intense. We can go down to Guadalupe River, and this looks like um, Johnson Creek near Ingram, Texas. And we can see what happened. So it looks like it was almost exactly at midnight on July 4th. There was a period of rain that lasted about 6 hours and dropped about 5.5 inches of rainfall in 6 hours. And then there was a brief kind of smaller rain comparatively, and then it shot back up all the way, coming up into about 8.25 inches over. It looks like we're getting on the order of 8 inches in 12 hours. So this is a major rainfall event. The next thing that I like to look at is to try to put this into perspective. So this is 8 inches in 12 hours. So one of the nice tools to figure things out, especially when we start talking about year storms. Like, was this a 10-year storm? Was this a 25-year storm? This is a 50-year storm. We can go to NOAA Atlas 14, and we can go find the area. So here's Austin, and I believe this tributary down here. Yes, so maybe we can actually find Kerrville. I believe it's right around here where that gauge station was. Yeah, it looked like the gauge station was around here. So we can now scroll down and we can go see, okay, this is a 12-hour event, almost exactly, and it was 8 inches in 12 hours. So that puts us in the 25 to 50-year event. If we want to start looking at this as a 20-hour storm, then still now we're looking more like a 25-year event, and I think it actually did go up a little bit more. So we're looking at a 25-year event, but on the 12-hour mark, we're now a little closer to the 50-year event. One of the things I noticed in the news when I was first looking into this was that a lot of actually, I think I have the YouTube video up. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, he was reported by a lot of the journalists as saying this was 12 inches in an hour, 12 inches an hour storm. And it was one of those things that made me realize that this was potentially a point to clarify, okay, where does that come from? That 12 inches an hour. So this is, if we look at this, we're on the between the 25, 50-year event, and if we go down to the highest intensity, the 5-minute interval intensity, if we look at these curves, we're now 0.1, or we're at 0.91. So this is a, just call it 1 inch per 5 minutes. To go from 5 minutes to an hour, we have to multiply that by 12. 5 times 12 gives us 60. So that gives us the 60 minutes. So 1 times 12, that gives us the 12 inches per hour of rainfall intensity. So that's where that statement is coming from. Going back to our National Water Dashboard, we can then start looking at other things. We can start saying, okay, now let's check out that first layer that was given to us, which was the stream flow. So I went to my stations, I saw stream flow, and I turned it on. Maybe we can go find maybe the Kerrville. Here's, it looks like a Kerrville gauge, Guadalupe River at Kerrville, Texas. So if we click that, see if it loads up. Okay. So we're looking at a gauge station, and it appears that normally the Guadalupe River at this gauge station is not really reporting too much flow at all. Where, I mean, this is showing 5.2 CFS, and then the storm, we saw the rainfall started and then it was about 6 hours later was the end of that first burst, and we get this up 120,000 CFS, up to 134,000 CFS. And we can also look at that in terms of gauge height, where it looks like typically we're below a foot at the gauge station, and then we shoot up to, it's like a little over 34 feet, coming back down where it's still trailing off after the huge plug of water. This is convenient information, but if you go and click the site page button, then you'll be able to see more detailed information. So this is giving us a 7-day historic, and we'll be able to then see, okay, different stage levels of flooding. So this is yellow region, there's this red region, this is purple. The purple region is the major flood level. So that's almost exactly at 20 feet. When we get to see, okay, what is that peak? We are looking like 14 to 15 feet above the 20-foot major flood stage. We could also dig in even deeper by downloading all of the data that is at this gauge station to see how does that actually rank up over time. The data set goes from 1996 to 2025, but we could conveniently, let's try this out, see if the 1 year loads up all right for us. So just looking at the entire year, there was only one event that actually registered at all, and that was almost exactly a year ago on July. So this is almost a July type of event, and we're registering almost looks like 8 feet compared to this one, which is the 34. So this is uh, unprecedented, I'm sure, for many people that have lived in the area. There may be older folks, or if we did a deeper dive, we'd be able to find some other historic events that would help put this into greater historic context of what this means. And going back to our dashboard, we can also use a tool like this, not just for doing historic types of analysis, but we can also use it to look at future. We can use it to be more proactive with our weather. So if we go back to the flood conditions, I'm going to turn off the recent rainfall. And now they also have a radar forecast. So with this, we can turn it on and we can look at the next 6 hours, or maybe we'll look at the next, let's look at the next 3 days and a bunch of colors in the US. So we can get a little bit of an idea of what's going to happen. So there's a legend up here just like before. So we can see what this means. So the green is saying light rain, 1/10 of an inch or less. And see that there's like a maroon and a red. So this is showing 3 inches in the next 3 days. I'm sure more rain is the last thing that these folks are interested to see. But we can also look at other areas of the United States. Looks like some projected rain east of Charlotte. And this is something that can be very useful for trying to understand when severe weather is coming and what it can mean. There's also a nice new tool from NOAA. Let's see if I can load that up. They've been developing this out throughout the US. This map is all looking pretty good. This is really nice. Before it was just kind of this like Appalachian region that had it, but it looks like it's expanded quite a bit. So let's go take a look down at the Guadalupe River. think it's around here. And we can actually then go look at this. Let's go look at this Guadalupe River at Kerrville. And we can see that they have an observed. So we're looking in the past at this blue line. Looks like there was no peak recorded. So it looks like the peak happened, but the gauge didn't record it. And then it drops down, and then we actually start going into the future where we forecast what's going to happen. So it would be interesting, and maybe folks listening to this know how to do it, but it would be interesting to be able to see what was the forecast before this happened, so we could compare the observed to what was forecasted to be able to gain faith in it in the future. I wonder if I can turn this off. And no, I can't see what had been forecasted, which would be nice. Okay, I hope this was helpful. If there's any questions, any comments, or this type of conversation would be helpful for somebody else, please let me know. Happy to share. I appreciate your time.